Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Today we're on Cotswold Way, part 13. We're back at Stinchcombe Hill, right by the golf course, and we're going to make our way down and across the valley, Waterley Bottom, up to North Nibley, onto North Nibley Knoll, and then we're going to get to the Cotswold town of Wotton-under-Edge, and then beyond that we're going to head to a National Trust property at Newark Park. On the way today we've got forts for you. We've got stunning woodland, amazing views. We've also got, interestingly, the last battle fought between two opposing private armies on English soil. I'll tell you all about that and more if you follow me here on West Country Wanderings as we continue once more along the Cotswold Way. As we set off this morning, it's a little bit on the cool side. It's just struggling to make 15 degrees. Been promised it's going to warm up, probably as high as 21 later on. It's lightly overcast and it's also dry, which is most welcome. We start our walk today, leaving the golf course, and we head down a steep embankment through a wood. So we'll continue our journey here. Didn't dare speak to the camera earlier on because the way through the wood has a very, very rocky surface, and I didn't want to lose my tread and fall all the way down the hill. So we're continuing our journey on to North Nibley now. We've come out of the wood and beautiful views all around us. I'll do another spin round in a second. Just to tell you a little bit about North Nibley. You'll come across several villages with the suffix, not prefix, yeah, suffix, L-E-Y at the end, so North Nibley, L-E-Y. Ley means a clearing in the wood, and there's several villages around here that have that suffix, no, I'm trying to say prefix again, at the end of the village. And that would indicate that in ancient times, I'm not sure how far we're going back now, it means there could well have been a lot of deforestation to clearing, obviously, to create those clearings, because hundreds and hundreds of years ago, before settlements were around, these areas would have been completely wooded. That's North Nibley Monument on the hill in front of us now. And that was built to commemorate William Tyndale. It wasn't built in William Tyndale's lifetime, that was 1400s and something. And I believe it was built in 1886. I'll check that fact and put it up the usual way. There is some confusion around where he was supposed to have been built, and we'll discuss that in greater length. But it was thought he was born here, North Nibley. You can just see the village there, beautiful village, Cotswold village, they were heading towards. Sometime in the 1400s, but there's now some proof that he may have either been born in Cam or indeed Slimbridge. Now, the other thing to say about North Nibley is there a South Nibley? Well, there isn't, but there is another village called Nibley, and it's believed that it's called North Nibley to distinguish it from that village called Nibley. And the village of Nibley is near Westerly, which lies in South Gloucestershire, just over the border. We're not that far from South Gloucestershire now, it's probably just a couple of miles south of the town of Wotton-under-Edge, and we've mentioned South Gloucestershire before, so I won't go into all of that again, but we'll be crossing lots of it as we head down towards Bath. This is Park Lane. No, not that Park Lane. We're not in London, definitely not. And our route, we just cross over this lane here, and then the way heads down there. See you in a bit. Now, rarely on the Cotswold Way do I vary off the main official footpath, but that's one of these rare occasions. The official way heads along that lane directly into the centre of the village, but the church isn't in the centre of the village, it's over here. So we're going to make a detour along this footpath and over that stile there, so we can get to the church, and then I can tell you about the battle which happened on the other side of the church. On the 30th of March in 1470, a battle happened the other side of this lane and hedge, and in fact it was the last private battle to be fought on English soil. So what happened, and who were the people that took part? Well, one Thomas Talbot brought over 300 men, retainers as they were known, from Wotton Manor, some 2 miles in the direction that we're going to be headed when we get to Wotton-under-Edge. And he fought on this field just opposite this hedge. We'll have a closer look in a minute. He fought Lord Berkeley from Berkeley Castle, but in fact Lord Berkeley brought 1,000 of his men from Berkeley Castle and entered into the field here at Nibley Green through Micklewood Copse, just the other side of the hill. Lord Berkeley's men overcame Thomas Talbot's. The reason for the battle is quite complex, and is to do with lineage and male heirs. I will drop a bit more information in on the subtitle because it is quite detailed. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little brief explanation of the battle here, the Battle of Nibley Green, the last battle to be fought of private armies on English soil. I didn't realise when I did the piece to camera just then with the Battle of North Nibley is that I was doing it in front of an unusual tree. Well, unusual because I didn't know what it was and I'd not actually seen it before, so I thought we'd play Name That Tree. I'll just show you one of the leaves here. That's one of the leaves. I'll do a photo and a close-up. Note this serrated edge here. And I didn't realise that it's part of a family that you will be very familiar with. It's a tree that I haven't done because it's so common and it looks very, very common. And in fact, if you look at the symbol for the national trails of which the Cotswold Way is a part, you'll be familiar with that symbol, which is the acorn. So I'm talking about the oak. But this isn't a common oak tree. Obviously, this is a very different shaped leaf to a common oak leaf. In fact, this tree is a red oak. And it's native to America, but it has been planted in parks and gardens and some churchyards. So it's quite rare to see one in a churchyard. It's not common, but indeed it's a red oak. There is the marker in the book. That's the exact same shape leaf, and it's called red. Obviously it's not red at the moment because it gives a very, very vivid red colour when we get into the autumn, which will be over the next few weeks. So it'll be good to come back and see what it looks like then. But so yes, it's red oak, Quercus rubra. Now sometimes on West Country Wanderings and indeed on the Cotswold Way. I'd like to give out shout outs to people, and today I'd like to give a shout out to Joan, who's one of my neighbours. She used to be the landlord of the Black Horse here in North Nibley. Hi Joan. That road sign there, it looks like this road goes to Chipping Sodbury. Well, it doesn't, it goes to Chipping Sodbury. We won't actually be going into Chipping Sodbury itself on the Cotswold Way, but it does go through two interesting places nearby, Old Sodbury and Little Sodbury. That'll probably be on vlog number 15, I would think, estimating the pace we're going at the moment. Anyway, that's not on the vlog today, we're continuing our journey up towards Nibley Knoll and the Tyndall Monument, and then down towards Wotton-under-Edge. A couple of horse riders just gone past me this path up this hill. Now, another shout out now, because this steep climb up to the Tyndall Monument reminds me of something else. I actually did this walk when I was probably 7 or 8, and it's all thanks to a teacher I had who actually lived in, I went to school, primary school in Stroud here in Gloucestershire. And my teacher, one of my teachers, she lived in Wotton-under-Edge. And one day we went for a walk along North Nibley, and she took us to the Tyndall Monument, and we actually went down to Wotton-under-Edge. So today's walk is recreating a walk I did many, many years ago. Too many for me to mention here. Now, the reason the teacher decided to take us on this walk, apart from to tell us a bit about local history, I think it's rubbed off, was also to instill in us a sense of adventure, about exploring places. And that's something that I've learned, and that's stayed with me. So thank you very much, Miss Madison. I really, really appreciate it, because I've never forgotten it. And today, this walk's a tribute to you. I don't know if you're still alive or whether you still live in Wotton-under-Edge, but thank you. And I'd also like to give a big thank out to all the teachers out there who do a fantastic job, which has obviously been made extremely difficult during these COVID times. So if you are a teacher, thanks very much. You do an amazing job. Wonderful beech trees here as we climb up Nibley Knoll towards the monument. Absolutely beautiful. Now, just to point out that I was reading the Richard Sale book last night, and the Cicerone one. The Cicerone's more up to date, although there's still a few changes since that was published. The Richard Sale one mentions that the Cotswold Way diverges away from the peak and the Tyndall Monument. It looks like, and I can't be certain, that it's changed since then. So if you're using an old Cotswold Way guidebook, it'll say you need to change your path and divert away from the Cotswold Way to get to the Tyndall Monument. But I believe that has now changed. But I'll let you know in a couple of minutes. So yeah, I've just followed the official course of the Cotswold Way as it is now waymarked, and indeed it does take you to the top of Nibley Knoll here with the views and the Tyndall Monument. So if you're using an older guidebook on the Cotswold Way, please bear that in mind. The best thing to do is the older guidebooks are still useful. They have information in them that isn't necessarily so comprehensive. It is comprehensive, and sometimes more comprehensive than the newer ones, but they don't always have the exact route. So the best thing to do is use the guidebook, anyone that you have, with an up-to-date OS map. Sadly, it's a bit misty today. Town you can see there. Sorry, I haven't got my telephoto lens on because it's misty. There's not much point because it's not going to be any clearer. That is Charfield, and the town might be able to just make it out to the south of that is Wickwall, and both those towns lie in South Gloucestershire. You can't actually see Wotton-under-Edge where we're headed from this position because it's behind that knoll there, the outcrop of the Cotswold Edge. Topically at the moment, in this area, I don't know exactly where, there is a farm around here where Geronimo was, that sadly been destroyed. I won't get into the politics of that, but just to mention it was from this area between Wotton-under-Edge and Wickwall. So behind me is the William Tyndale monument. William Tyndale was alleged to have been, I say alleged, the only thing certain about this monument is the fact that it's standing. All the other history surrounding it is a bit uncertain. But we certainly can say he was born in this part of the world, but whether he was born near this exact spot, it seems a little bit less unlikely. Anyway, he was the translator of the Bible from Latin and Hebrew into English. But whether he was the very first person to do that is also questionable in doubt. Anyway, I'm going to tell you more about William Tyndale's life when we get to a little sod break. Now, leaving Nibley Knoll, I'm about to enter Westridge Woods. Now, this is the part of Westridge Woods where we come across Brackenbury Fort. You can actually see some odd white posts here. Not sure what they denote. Large piece of decaying wood here, but here we have this rectangular slab of limestone. It looks like a tomb, but it isn't, and it's got strange carvings in it. I don't know what they denote, and it looks like that some considerable time ago the fort area was fenced off from the general public, and there used to be a gate here. Anyway, the Cotswold Way continues along here. More pieces of stone here. In Richard Sale's book on the Cotswold Way, written some 40 years ago now, he talks about a strange stillness in Westridge Woods, where I am at the moment. And 40 years later, I can say, Richard, you are absolutely right. We've been through many woods along the Cotswold Way, but there is a stillness about this one which I haven't experienced in any of the woods that we've been through before. Can't quite explain it, but yeah, definitely something about it. So if you've walked along the Cotswold Way through Westridge Woods, I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Brackenbury Fort, or rather the earthworks for it, is running in a clearing just to the right of me at the moment, which would be to the left of the screen as you're looking at it. And yeah, it does have a strange stillness here, and although the fort that we saw at Ewleybury was more clearly defined, this one isn't, but it has a greater sense of atmosphere and is also a lot less well known. And I suppose because it's not on a promontory or a visible promontory, it is high up. You can't see views from it. It's less popular with like walkers and dog walkers and that sort of thing. There was a mark on the tree trunk back there, just 4 blobs of moss, but it's shaped that like it was a human face in shock. I've just showed an image of it there, really strange. We've now left Westridge Wood. It's actually to my right, to your left, and we're now following, or skirting around the edge of a field, and shortly we'll begin our descent down towards the town of Wotton-under-Edge, and I'll explain more about how it's got its name. Well, the under the edge bit is pretty self-explanatory, as it's below the Cotswold edge, but I'll explain a bit about the Wotton part of the name and give you a little bit of a brief history, similar to what I did at Dursley. So I'll have lunch there, grab a coffee. I've got some sandwiches with me, and I'll take some photographs around the town and give you a bit of history before we continue our journey here on Cotswold Way 13 back up the hill towards Newark Park. Now, I'm not actually going to cover the National Trust site itself today. We'll see part of Newark Park. We probably won't see the house. I'm actually going to cover that in a completely separate vlog, although when that is ready and uploads, I'll link it to this one so you can see them together if you're viewing this a bit later after this one uploads. Very significant clump of trees in front of us, and if you live in Wotton-under-Edge or near these parts or on the South Gloucestershire border, you'll probably know about them. But they have a fascinating history. They were actually originally planted in 1815 to commemorate the Battle of Waterloo. And in the 1870s, they chopped all the trees down to build a massive bonfire on here to celebrate the end of the Crimean War. And then I believe it was to celebrate Queen Victoria's Jubilee in the 1880s, 1886, sorry, not sure the exact date on that one. I'll put that in the usual way. Anyway, it was to commemorate Queen Victoria. They were replanted again, and so they've been here ever since, so past 140 odd years they're growing. So a little bit of a quirky history to these trees here on the Cotswold Way. That's looking down on the town of Kingswood, not to be confused with the Kingswood, which is a suburb of Bristol. Although we're not that far from Bristol here, probably about 20 miles or so. Just pan it round to the right here, and that over there is the River Severn. Wotton was Woodenton, the farm in the wood in Saxon times, the suffix under-edge being added around the 14th century to accentuate its position below the Cotswold edge. The area around Wotton must have been very thickly wooded, since many of the local villages, Alderley, Hillesley, Wortley, Nibley, bear the suffix ley from layer, a clearing. The first record of the town dates, as will be expected, from Saxon times. A Royal Charter of 940 mentioned the leasing of land, 4 hides, equalling 480 acres, to Thane or Thane, Edric from the King of Wessex, Edmund. Following the Norman conquest, the town, then no more than a village, became part of the Berkeley estate. At one time, during the infighting between the Berkeleys, Thomas Berkeley, being excluded from his castle, promptly built a manor house at Wotton and raised its status by including Nibley and Wortley in the manor. This original village was in part now known as Old Town and was destroyed by fire in the reign of King John. It is thought that the fire was deliberately set as a reprisal for the part played by Lord Berkeley as second Robert in the events leading up to the Magna Carta. Robert was certainly one of the leaders of the Barons movement, although the idea that their last meeting prior to the presentation of the demands was at Berkeley, though widely promoted, is incorrect. The meeting was in fact held at Brackley in Northamptonshire. The Cotswold Way enters Wotton-under-Edge via Bradley Street. In the early 19th century, there was a Wesleyan school in this street which, in 1836, acquired a famous teacher, one Isaac Pitman. He was born in 1813, the second of 11 children of a clerk in Trowbridge clothing factory. After becoming a teacher, his first job was on Humberside, but he accepted the Wotton job to return to the west of England. The story runs that, on the journey south, he fell into religious discussions with a man from Clifton who altered his convictions. Consequent on this change, he was sacked from the teaching post after a short time, the local Wesleyan minister telling the congregation that, if he held such religious sentiments, he should expect to be hunted out of the town like a mad dog. Just left the wonderful town of Wotton-under-Edge. Hope you enjoyed the history there and the photographs. It was looking resplendent today, the sun came out and the flowers are looking lovely. We've now we've walked along a valley called Coombe. Now I'm actually going to be tracing my steps back to my car that way rather than going back via North Nibley. So I'm going to head up the escarpment on the other side of Coombe. Lovely little stream ran through there. Done a little bit of video footage which I'll insert. We're now climbing up the scarp again. I've just looked at the OS map. The contours here are very, very steep. I'm not sure how much I will have climbed from Coombe up towards Newark Park. I'll drop that in. We'll make our way up to a quarry. When we get to that quarry, that'll be the end of the vlog today, and then I'll do a recap. And a video due until Cotswold Way 14. But anyway, the climb here continues. Now nearing the summit, and although I'm glad to see the sun in some respects, it's just come out at the wrong moment because I'm absolutely melting after that climb. The temperature has risen somewhat, so we're going to continue on to the quarry, and that will be the end of our journey today as far as the Cotswold Way route is concerned. But of course I've got to make my way, do it all again, slightly shorter route back to my car. Anyway, beautiful views, nice woodland, and we'll go and have a look at this quarry. Well, here we are at the junction where the trail, the Cotswold Way trail, doubles backs on itself, and in fact it continues to the hamlet of Worsley, and then we go on to Hillesley, Alderley and Hawkesbury, which will be coming up in vlog number 14 here on the Cotswold Way series. Newark Park, however, is just a quarter of a mile in front of me, just by a line of trees. I'll just pan the old camera around after I finish so, and insert that here so you can see what we're aiming for. I'm going to do a visit to Newark Park probably over the next week or two while we've still got nice weather here in the autumn, and I'll show you around Newark Park. It takes a good half day, if not a bit more, to do it justice. Don't have time for it today. Now it's now 20 past 2 and I've got a good 3.5 hours stiff walking to do back to my car at Stinchcombe Hill. I hope you've enjoyed the walk today. I certainly have. There's been some extraordinary views on the way, and it was a delight to visit Wotton-under-Edge. Although it's a town that's pretty close to where I live, it's not a town that I'm that familiar with. Obviously I've been living in Cornwall and Devon area for many years, and I've only recently returned to Gloucestershire. Obviously I've driven through Wotton a few times, but I've never actually stopped there and had a chance to have a good wander around the town and appreciate its history and its architecture, and I really enjoyed that. I hope you did too. you have any comments about the Cotswold Way, if you've done part of it yourself, or you're thinking about doing it as a through hike, or if you're considering doing it in sections like I have, then please drop a comment below and I'll do my very best to reply and help you. Until the next time, hope you stay safe, stay well, look after yourselves, look after each other, and I hope to see you all again here on my channel, West Country Wanderings. Please consider subscribe if you do watch my videos but you don't yet currently subscribe. Also please share to your friends and family, I'd very much appreciate that. Perhaps a comment or a like too. Until next time, all the best. Cheers, bye bye for now.